What's up, everyone? I'm Jared Harris, and this is episode 45 of Beats by Jer. Today, I am very excited to be joined by the recently formed classic rock band Close Enemies, featuring Chasen Hampton, vocalist for The Party, guitarist Trace Foster, guitarist Peter Stroud, who has worked with the likes of Sheryl Crow and Don Henley, drummer Tony Brock of The Babies and Rod Stewart, and so many more, and none other than the songwriter behind Sweet Emotion, one of the greatest bass riffs of all time, founding member of Aerosmith, Tom Hamilton. Formed in 2024, Close Enemies has kicked off the year with a trio of singles: Sound of a Train, Inside Out, and most recently, Sweet Baby Jesus. The band captures a 70s blues rock inspired tone, giving their work the vibe of a lost gem from a long gone era being uncovered for the very first time. Here is my conversation with Close Enemies. Close Enemies, thank you for joining me today for the Spill Magazine and Beats by Jer.
Hey, what's going on, Jared?
Hey, buddy.
It's good to have you guys here. It's good to meet you all today.
Great to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to. I think this is the first time I've had this many people on the podcast in one go. So maybe one at a time. If everyone could just say hi and introduce themselves. That way the listener can put a name to a voice as, as they're going along.
Hey, I'm Tony Brock.
Trace Foster.
Peter Stroud.
Tom Hamilton.
And Chasen Hampton.
Awesome. It's great to have you guys here. And congrats on the string of singles you've been dropping since the start of this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Before we talk about the music, let's talk about the band. How did you guys link up? Because collectively, between the five of you, there is a truly impressive resume of music and careers and like just everyone that you've worked with. How did you guys get together?
Tinder. Didn't expect that one, did you?
Is there an awkward story where one of you swiped left and the others swiped right or something like that? Was there a moment where it didn't link up right away?
It was just a nasty accident.
I'll give you, this is Trace. I'll give you the short version of it. So, because I mean, it could get really long and silly, but it kind of started off as an idea with, I started writing a few songs with this guy, Gary Steer, who was kind of like our hidden sixth member of the band. He doesn't tour with us or do, live shows, but he does write with us. And we've all known Gary. Well, Peter and I have known Gary for since the 80s, so almost 30 something years. And started writing some songs and I realized they were pretty good. So we decided to call Peter, see if he'd be interested. And of course, Peter heard him and he was very interested. And then we got together, started writing, and then we decided we have to start adding some people. We had a different drummer, a different bass player that we couldn't seem to make it all work together. So I had asked Tom and Peter had asked Tony, and we ended up going to Boston to work with Tom on some of his stuff. And that's kind of how the first time we got together. So it was always in the back of our minds that we could really do something really cool. And once we had a few songs and Tom was interested in hearing them, we sent them to Tom and he responded like, hey, I'm in, let's do this. And then Tony was very excited. And once Tony and Tom played together, it was definitely a lock because those two were just so good together. And then it took us about over a year, I think, to find you, Chasen, wasn't it? About at least a year. I kept swiping left.
I got lucky. I was wearing the right dress that day, huh?
Yeah, that's right. But no, I mean, it was, so I mean, that's basically, you're looking at about 2 years I think from the beginning to right about now, it's about 2 years-ish.
Cool. So Tom, when Trace says that you were invited them up to work on some of your stuff, were you doing your own project or did you have something going on before the formation of Close Enemies?
Well, I was supposed to be having an Aerosmith tour happening, but we got 3 shows in, and Steven had this horrible accident really smashed his lyrics never really.
Mm.
And so then we were, we had a whole tour going, and we were on our third show, and that was it. That ended the whole thing right there. So I was sort of set adrift. And
Yeah.
And we took him. He was
That's
adrift, and we
great.
threw him a lifeboat, a life preserver.
yeah, Trace
Cool.
sent me some of the songs that they were having them put together, and I was blown away.
Yeah, I bet.
And
The songs are super cool.
Join up and play bass on them.
It was all this has really been good timing, hasn't it, guys? It's been very much like this person just comes available, and we just seem to be able to grab everybody at the right time. And then, of course, and it works, musically as well. So that helps.
Well, I would assume with the collective resume that you guys have, one of the biggest challenges of getting together would be the schedules, because everyone has their own projects or commitments to other things they've been doing for so long, and those commitments are tours and records, and these things take time and require you to be all over the place. So to get together in this way, I would assume like timing plays a huge role in it.
Peter?
Yep, no doubt. It but so far it's worked. Right now, Trace is out on the road with AC/DC.
Whoa, what?
I crank. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Where are you? You're in Florida, Tampa, Florida.
I'm in
today, I believe.
Tampa. Yep, Tampa today. Yep.
And I'm about to head out for shows with Sheryl Crow for the summer. But even in the midst of that, we're able to sandwich in some of our shows as well. But the thing that's nice about my schedule with Sheryl is it's just, I've been with her 26 years, and all of us have sort of grown together to where we value our time at home as well as we do out playing and traveling. She values her time with her two boys that are now teenagers. So over time, the schedule allows for me to be able to be creative and do things outside of playing with her as well. And
For
so
sure.
it's perfect timing, just as we've all been talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, Cheryl's
To
amazing
work on this.
too.
Yeah, Cheryl's amazing.
Trace, what
No
is it
doubt.
that you're doing with AC/DC?
Mangus's guitar tech. So we're out here. I'm out here handing them guitars, making them look and sound really good.
Whoa, yeah, that's sick. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's very
And
cool.
you've been doing that a long time, right, Trace? You've been doing that.
Yeah, I've been with Angus over 10 years. That's how I've known Tom over 20 years, because I've been in the Aerosmith camp for that long, working with Joe and Tom, and then it's just kind of what I do, and just kind of but you were talking about the scheduling, and it's like I found that every one of us, like you said, are really, really busy, but when you want to do something bad enough, we find time, which is that just shows you the commitment that we have for this band. And I didn't say project because it's not a project, it's a band. So we make sure that we're able to make it work. And we have been. We've recorded a record. I mean, it's pretty good. A lot of bands can't get that together, and we've managed to knock it out. So
Nice.
Yeah, you think about, there are a lot of artists out there that do multiple projects. I mean, so it's not unusual. It may sound like it at times, but it's not. I mean, look at Dave Grohl. He's always got 2 or 3 things going on at once.
He's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And so our schedules, we're able to make it work, just like Trey says, as long as we ink out the time, it happens.
yeah.
Cool.
And we kind of know. The good thing is, I think most of us know a little bit in advance what's going on with Tony doing the baby shows, and Tom going on vacation, and Chasen and Peter. And I think we were able to go, okay, how about November? I mean, and it works. Right, Tom? Tom's on vacation.
Yeah. I mean,
It's freezing up.
I've been doing a lot of my bass tracks remotely. I'm at my house here, and that's worked really well. We don't have to be nailed down to a period of time in the studio. So it makes
That technology.
it possible.
Technology has been our friend.
when Tom
in
goes
this
to his house and
yeah.
records a bass track and sends it to you, it's exciting because it's like, like you said, Aerosmith was your first concert, and to know that, hey, there's a track coming through and we're going to lay it into the song and it's Tom Hamilton. It's it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, for sure.
and I don't
Tom's,
think
it is.
Tom is sitting on gems. Let's not let that pass. He's sitting on some gems of songs. He's like,
think,
oh, how about this one?
Yeah. How about
What?
this one? Okay, sure, let's
think-
do
How long you
it.
been holding on to that?
I think Sweet Emotion remains among, if not the greatest bass-driven track to this day. Like that is a gem.
That's
And the
crazy.
fact that
Tom. How does
the
that
fact that
feel?
no one else has topped that,
That's about as signature a bass track as there is out there, as far as a bass riff.
And it's so simple.
No, it's really hard, Tom.
It's so simple. I just thought, I was practicing one day and I floated by, and I grabbed it, made sure to
That's-
remember it, and then kept building on from there. And then came up with some guitar parts, and I had the whole basis of the arrangement. When we were doing the Twisting Attic album, we did all the basic tracks, and we got finished a day early. And our producer, Jack Douglas, said, does anybody have any, riffs or anything? I said, yeah. And at the end of the day, we had it all set up and we had a tape.
Damn.
Oh, wow. It's so spontaneous.
So I'm
it's
not
crazy
interviewing
that
you,
it
but I'd like-
almost didn't happen.
I got a question for you, Tom. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Jared. This is a question that just popped in my head.
Okay,
Did you
yeah.
guys know when you first listened back to it how amazing it really was the first time? I think. Did you freeze up?
Yeah.
Might be delayed.
Hey, did you know,
My-
Tom, the first time you guys listened to that song back in the studio that it was going to be that amazing?
No, back then, when the basic tracks were done, because of the budget, if you were done with your tracks, you had to go home.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I was saying about when I first heard Sweet Emotion, you just heard that and could tell. Now that's a different kind of riff, or that's a different kind of song, rock song. And the same thing with the Babies when I first heard Head First. Yeah, I'd already heard the Babies, of course, a lot, but there was just something about that riff that da 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 da. I was like, all right, that's a different kind of riff. That one's really cool, and that one stuck out in the same way, and that's every bit as much a favorite of mine to this day.
That is a fun song to play.
Yeah. The Chain Gang. We call those guys the Chain Gang, those two guys, and they definitely nail it for sure.
Yeah, it's because of the chains, brother.
They have the same chain. That's why they're the Chain Gang. Not because they're convicts or anything.
Hey, Jared, I got a comment about your sneakers there. That's the originals right there, buddy.
Chuck Taylor's.
They're definitely not originals, but
They're not. Oh, they look it.
I'm a big, when it comes to shoes, I'm a big Converse guy.
That's all I
Especially
wear.
the high tops. Thank you.
That's all I ever wear.
There he is.
Sick.
Ah.
Nice. I don't trust myself with white ones at all.
Well, I don't sneak in the closet to wear mine though.
Everybody wears white sneakers now, and they want to keep them perfectly white and clean. But back when I was a kid, if your sneakers were perfectly white, it was like,
Something was wrong with you, right?
Yeah, not
It wasn't
cool.
It's like, go run them over a couple times.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Right,
I
yeah.
All
see.
you did was scuff them up.
I had this pair of Converse that my mom bought me years and years and years ago, and I finally had to throw them out because like they were my gigging shoes, and I wore them so much, and they were like permanently water stained, and they had like they were all stiff from like walking in the snow and rain and bringing drums back and forth, and like literally it got to the point like there were holes in the sides of them, but it got to the point where the sole was actually coming off. Like I would walk and it was my shoes were just opening. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna play one final show. Like it was like last year, I was like, I'm gonna play one final show in these, and like I gotta get rid of them at this point. But yeah, like a nice worn-in pair of shoes. I don't know if I've ever. I wouldn't trust myself with white ones. I'd probably like spill something ridiculous on them. But a nice worn-in pair of Chucks. Oh, love it. I'd go home like to see my parents and my mom and be like, these shoes make me so sad. I'm like, no, they look
Oh,
awesome. Look at them.
oh, that's
Um,
Where did we go wrong?
yeah.
awesome.
Bringing it back to the band, where does the name come from?
Peter.
Ah,
Well, we went round and round trying to come up
yeah.
with a band name. Yeah, I mean, to try to, I'm sure you've experienced it, to try to come up with a band name that hasn't already been taken not once, but 5 times is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And, just in short, that was one that my wife just sort of popped off where she had, referring to the Godfather saying, you know, keep your friends close, you keep your enemies closer, or whatever it was. And she
Yeah.
just said, how about close enemies? And we went, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, we start, look it up. And lo and behold, it had not been taken,
Nice.
We
Yeah, no,
looked
it's
up
super cool.
every name possible. We were making up really awful, disgusting names and Googling them, and they were all taken, mostly by punk bands out of Seattle. But we couldn't find the name. And then we were all like, there's no way that name's not taken. There's no way.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And, so I wish we could say there was some deep meaning to it or some, dark meaning to it between us that would make for some good drama TV, but nope, that was it.
It's a rock band name. It just has to sound cool, We're not looking for a meaning. We're looking for something that just sounds rad.
It does. It sounds tough.
But
it is fun to spin on. It is good.
Yeah.
I mean, we can definitely riff on it.
Yeah. Let's look at the songs that you guys have released. So this year you've dropped 3 singles. Let's start off with the first one, Sound of a Train. What can you tell me about the writing, the recording behind this song?
Trace?
So Sound of a Train was one of those songs I've told you about that was written before when it was just me and Gary. It was an idea that Gary had like just the first part of it. And I had written those descending lines and we put it together and it was like, wow, this is really good. And that's when we invited Peter in, and then we were just rehearsing it, and Peter wrote that whole breakdown bridge section. It was just like, wow, this is amazing. And then you add Tom's bass part and Tony's drum parts, and the thing just literally just jumps, just jumps out, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then I think Chasen needs to tell you about the vocal because there's an amazing thing about the vocal of
that song became like, they had a bunch of songs written first off, but that became one of the favorites amongst their friends and people they would pass it to. So I think that song became the song they would pass out to any potential singers that they wanted for the band. So it kind of became like, the American Idol voice song that everybody had to do to kind of pass the test. And to Tom's point, how we can record at home with technology and stuff. I got the song and recorded it and sent it back to him, just fingers crossed, and was just obviously blown away by what I heard. But I've been close to things in the past, and just didn't want to have any high expectations of what might happen. But they sent it back, and they were like, "Man, we really like it. Can you give us more?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. You want me to step on the gas a little bit? All right." So I went in and really dug in, and at that very moment, my dad actually was passing away. He was actually got sick and passing away. So it became like this really emotional outlet for me. because during this time I was also, next to my dad as he was passing,
Hmm.
and I recorded this song, literally just taking all that emotion in, and just, it became, that song can mean a lot of things, whether you're going through addiction, or whether, you have a drinking problem, or you have a bad relationship, or whatever. But it literally just kind of, it became something for me internally with that moment with my dad, of like, almost like he heard the train, calling him home. And
Mm.
what was really cool is after I recorded it, I got to play it for him before he passed in the hotel, in the hospital. And he called all the nurses in, and it's a little more rock and roll than I think he's used to hearing me sing. He's more of a John Denver kind of guy. but I was like, well, I want him to hear it. I want him to hear it. It's important to me, because this is a potential something that might happen. And I still wasn't in the band, and I played it for him, and he's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And then as I'm sitting next to him, as the sun's going down, these guys, which tells a lot about who these guys are, they text me and just to check on me, and they were like, "Hey man, we're checking on you. We just wanted you to know that, in all capitals on my text message, your new band is here for you, and we'll be here. Whatever you need, we're here for. Just let us know, buddy." And I was like, "Oh my God," I just broke down. I looked at my dad. I'm like, "I'm in the band." So that song, for probably the rest of my life, will be this very poignant moment,
Mm.
to not only just the opportunity that became of it, but just meeting these gentlemen. It's far more than talent in this band. Everybody. It's just such the perfect fit of personalities, and genuineness, and beautiful hearts, and just big hearts. I mean, just the people on this phone calls. You know, I feel like I've known him my entire life. So it was the greatest gift I could give my dad before he passed, and he passed literally hours later. Knowing, knowing, and he literally said, "I'll have the best seats in the house. This is the greatest gift." So yeah, it was really cool, man. It was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Mm.
that song can mean a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
I'm
the
sorry
demo,
to
just
hear
so
that.
you know, the what you're hearing when you listen to that song is his demo. We never redid the vocals because it was so powerful,
Oh,
so good.
cool.
That's what makes it even more. And he didn't tell you this part. So we played Boston, and he starts telling the story. I don't think any of us weren't like in tears. And so we tried to start the song, and we had to stop and start over because we were like, this
We had to have a quick
Um,
group hug on stage.
I mean,
Oh,
it was
God.
so intense. We were just like, wow, we really are friends and really close and a
we
loving,
played
close-knit
we
group.
played Boston on the anniversary of that happening. So that's
Mm.
I hadn't told that in any of the shows we've done. I don't want to bring everybody down, but at that moment when we were in Boston, which is really cool for me to be playing where I live, and Tom's hometown, and it was a really great
And it
show.
was sold out.
Um, sold out. So being able to tell that on the anniversary of all that happening, it had been literally a year to the day, and that's just like, wow. Yep. And then we
Yeah.
then we tore the house down.
Yeah.
Out,
Yeah.
out of, out
Yeah.
of, out of everything I've been really lucky to do in my career, that moment I've never not been able to play. I mean,
Oh wow.
yeah.
we
Yeah.
played. We all had to stop. I couldn't play. I do,
Yeah.
I
There
remember
was a
hugging
lot of
Tom and
rolling
Tom
down.
hugging me. It was like, oh, it was so good. And then
Yeah.
hugging Chasen. It was just like a big, giant, warm, fuzzy feeling on stage. And then
I've,
we were like, we should probably play
yeah.
a song.
I've even had Tina Turner sitting on my lap while I'm trying to play, and she's messing with me to try and, all I could see was long legs, but I could still play around her, right? But
Yeah.
your story just takes the bait. I mean, it was the best ever.
Thanks,
God.
brother.
Love you, Chasen. You're the man.
Oh, thank you guys for real. This
Yeah,
is
that's
and again, as you can imagine, Jared, like I stand in the middle of these guys and just kind of like, many nights I'm just like, how in the hell am I? What? How did I get here? You know what I mean? This is
mm.
incredible. Again, not only the people they are, but when you're standing there and amongst all that power, and years and years of experience of just hitting you in the
Mm.
face with with amps. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable high, I can tell you.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. That's an incredible story, and I'm sorry that happened.
Mm.
Um, what about this song stood out to you guys? Like, was it this story? But like, what was it that made you think that this was like the song that you wanted to make your debut as Close Enemies?
I'll start. I think this song had every element of what we did. I remember when we needed a part, and I was like, man, I really like that descending beatly kind of thing, and it just fit. It was like the first thing I tried, and I was like, whoa, this actually fits perfect. And then Peter's part just fits so perfect. So everything, it was a culmination of everything that everybody did that fit so like a glove. And that's when we were like, okay, I think this song should be first because it's every bit of who we are. You know what I mean? It just felt so right.
It's a really great statement for sure. I think that's a good segue to the next one, Inside Out, which I love the artwork for this one.
Oh yeah.
Um, is there some insight to the connection between the artwork and the meaning of this song?
Chasen, take it.
Not necessarily. I mean, the
Mm.
as you know from being in a band, with the name thing also comes the logo thing, and we came across a logo that has just kind of been our thing, and that's become the keyhole with the eye and kind of the peephole
I
peeking
noticed
in.
that on all
Yeah,
three. It's
so it's kind of
really well done.
it's something that will always kind of be there in the background, or or right up front in everything that we do. Um, but not necessarily any meaning other than it's just us, and it's just kind of an imprint of who we are.
Cool. Yeah.
And those lyrics are Gary's lyrics. So they're that kind of it's very Gary. If you listen to the lyrics,
Very
it kind of
Gary.
very Gary kind of describes his personality pretty well. All of them, all of his personalities really
Yeah,
well.
it's some good relationship drama in there for sure.
That song is a good example of one that just was born in the basement, so to speak, where I knew you guys had the seed of it. Trace and Gary had the seed of the song, brought it in, and we were all together and just hashed it out right there in the basement over a handful of hours, and then we tracked it. So the tracks that you're hearing of that song, is one of the batch that was recorded in the basement live, where we,
And it's
the
like
rhythm
one
track.
take. They're
One
like
take, everyone, like
pretty
guitars, lead lines, vocals, everything.
vocals
Well,
were
no,
Not vocals.
Okay.
not vocals. I think Tom redid the bass part. The guitars are the same. The drums, we redid all the drums in order to go into a proper studio and get Tony's sound the way it should be.
because he played his
Uh,
electronic kit for all the demos. So we had to go back in
mhm.
and give Tony credit that he was able to go in, which I don't even know how you could possibly do what he did, go in and play exactly what he did over exactly what he did before, and everything lined up. I was just like,
No, you did it in 3 days.
in 3 days,
Nice.
10 songs.
yeah.
Whoa. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
That-
we got a lot.
cool.
We got a lot in the bank ready to go. But as you
Yeah.
notice, as you notice as well, from Train to Inside Out, the style change. Going from like just straight classic rock into this more kind of poppy, tighter song. That's kind of my favorite part of the band, is being able to release these songs and showing all these sides of our personalities and weapons these guys got in their pockets.
Yeah.
There isn't anybody.
The song is in the verse where he sings I have a clear head, I wish you were dead.
Yeah.
Burned at the stake in lakes of fire.
Burning at the stake in lakes of fire.
Yeah, and
Thank you, Gary. I'm assuming you're not together anymore. The good thing is, Jared, we don't have anybody dictating what we have to do and what we can't do. So because of that, every one of us here are all songwriters, and really good songwriters. A lot of bands, especially bands that have come together from, different other bands, there's really no writers. They're just names. And I'm telling you, every one of us, every time somebody says, "What about this?" We have never said, "No, we're not going to try that. That's stupid." We always go, "Okay, let's try it." And man, we've come up with some gems just because we're just so open to what everyone else has to say, because we know it's going to, the chances of it being amazing are pretty good.
Cool. Yeah.
And with the tracks, the thing I mentioned, blowing up on Tony a little more, of just some of the parts that Tony has come up with in these songs, and then what came out when we actually got into the studio. We went into Peter Frampton's studio in Nashville, his own
Cool.
personal studio. He offered it to us, and it was and Tony hammered them all out. But just his musical sense and of his background added so much to not only just to the sound, but to the song and to the parts, and would make, as you'll hear with some of the future releases too, especially make it go from, a great song to just anthemic, to work. Okay, that's his arena days coming out.
Yeah. And Tony's like, wait a minute, it's almost done. We think we need to do this right here. And you go, oh, so our next song coming out, Rain, he'd written this little 3-note little thing. I don't even know what you call it, Tony. It's just, and then he said, try something like that. We went, oh, like that. And all of a sudden, wow. It's like I said, just one of those things. And a lot of times, I'm going to say very rarely, Tony, because I don't think I've ever really worked with any other drummer that was such a great songwriter that really knew music and wasn't just going do doodly do. Tony's like, this is what it is. This is why it is. And I mean, it's just like, there's just a lot, like Chasen said, there's so much respect for all of us with each other that, I wish I could be a fly on the wall, but I can't because I got to write. But it's like just to see this whole thing come together is amazing, it really is.
That's
and it's
really
like
cool.
And like Trace said earlier about Tom too, it's like I have the fun time of being able to put all this stuff together into the session and listen to it and to hear Tom's parts and hear Tony's parts come in and hear everything and just go, damn, and really be able to dissect the parts and go, oh yeah, there's that sound, and then go back to Aerosmith records and try to match that kind of recorded sound too. Use that as a reference, and the same with Tony with his past recordings. Use those as reference. Is pretty exciting for me, being a fanboy on my own at times.
Yeah, it's Inside Out's a fantastic one, and I to go back to what Chasen said, the versatility between these two tracks is super cool, and I think Inside, like they're all really strong, but I think Inside Out was my favorite of the three.
Awesome.
That's cool.
And that brings us to the. Oh, sorry, I should ask. You said Rain is your next single. When
Yes.
is that one dropping?
June 6th, June 13th.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
So
Yeah.
shortly after this
Yeah.
podcast airs, stay tuned for a brand new Close
Yeah.
Enemies track. Rain.
Rain is probably the first song that I just had like a 20-second snippet of something that I really liked. And within like 4 hours, we had a whole song. And it was like, wow, that was when I realized that there's no stopping us at that point because it came from a little bit of this to this. Well, you'll hear it. I mean, it's just magic. Again, I think that was all the guitars are pretty much live. It's what we tried.
Sick.
In the basement.
I remember that distinctly because that one had a little more. We'd known each other a little bit more by then.
Yep.
And it was fun to do get all those breakdowns in and the stops and all that sort of thing. And it was just magic, the way it all came together. So I'm going to remember that one.
Yeah, me too. I think that's that song that, I mean, of course, Train, because I think that's the first one. But I think, Rain was the first one that we all really just dug in.
Lyrically, that was when you guys actually sent me this track, and I still wasn't in the band yet. When they first sent me the track, and they go, we want to hear what you would do to this track, scat on it, just do whatever. It doesn't have to be lyrics. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can't do that. I got that night I stayed up all night, and I was like, okay, I'm coming up with something. And I just had a podcast with some other guys. I help run a charity, and somebody had said something, trying to be inspiring to the group. This year we're gonna make it rain this year. And I was like, you know what? Got it. And we started writing the lyrics, and I gave it over to Trace, and he's like, "Oh, dude, this is good. I like where this was going." And this one's more like Train, where this is more of kind of a solid classic rock, banger. It's
cool.
got a lot of
I was
cool parts
blown
to it.
away. I was
Yeah,
blown
but
away. Like
it's a little. it's a little bit more adventurous because it's more in the style of what the Who might do and what Zeppelin might do, because we every time we're halfway through where that break stops, when we play it live, everybody thinks the song's finished.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they
Well, I
applaud. They
mean, that's
applaud.
a bit of a spoiler. I'm gonna hear that break and I'm gonna be like, it's not done.
It's not done. Wait for it. Wait for
Yeah.
it.
And so that feels really special, especially live. They go, whoa, where'd that come from?
Funny.
Yeah, that's the very first song we ever played live for people. I know we're not even supposed to be talking about this song yet, but you wanted to.
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be a perfect setup.
Yeah,
What were you
that's
going to say,
right.
Tom?
It will be a good setup. Yeah.
What'd you
What
say,
were you
Tom?
saying, Tom?
Well, this is one part that, face out the audience every night, to stop and to say it's the end of the song. And
Yeah.
they're like, yay!
And then we kick it back in. They're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Very first time. That's the very first song we ever played for anybody at our show in Nashville. When we did our first show, no music out ever. And we played our whole show was basically 10 songs and 4 covers. 10 songs people had never heard before. So we played the first song, which was Rain. And we just loved it. We're like, hopefully they will. And it came to that part where we stopped and everybody just kind of went crazy. And we're like, okay, I think they like it. And then when the song finally did end, it's just that split second of they're like going, is it over now? Can we clap? Like, and then I think they realized it was, and everybody went crazy. And I remember looking at Tom and Tom looking at me. We both had a big grin on our face. We're like, I think this is going to work. Because when you've been recording and rehearsing and playing with amongst 5 people, of course, all 5 of you think it's great, but you're so close to it, you really don't know. You just
Yeah.
gotta get outside.
Now,
get
with all the experience that you guys have, do you, when you have that sort of insular feeling, like, do you still have that almost insecurity, but I don't necessarily want to use that word, but that feeling of like, what if it is just us? Like when you're about to put something out or about to play that first set, is there that nervousness that maybe it is just you guys that thinks you have something special? Like, do you guys still have that at this point in your careers?
Tony, you take that one. I want to hear
No,
what you say.
I, you know, I've never looked at it that way. It's through, I've been lucky to have done quite a bit in my career, and I've never been in a band where I've been so sure that it's what I want to do, and it feels so wonderful to play these songs that if I'm wrong, then I shouldn't be in this business. It just feels so solid, and it's melodic. I mean, all the players together. I've never had a doubt, so I've never thought of it as, does anybody else like it? No. I mean, if they don't like it, they're missing out on something. That's the way I look at it anyway.
I
I've
agree.
always I've reverted back to the feeling of knowing there's an audience for almost anything out there. It's got to really suck for there not to be. But in our case, I know what we have is really good. And so even if we didn't find our audience immediately, I know that audience is out there. But we've been fortunate that it seemed like, from that first gig, we sort of, hit on an audience right off.
And also, we're very true and real. We're not going, oh, well, we have to put this in here because that's what we need to be popular or do this or do that. We just write songs for ourselves. So I think at that point, I think, like you said, we have so much experience and so much knowledge that, well, of course we think it's going to be good. And so far, I think, we have never we've done like 11 or 12 shows, and we have yet to find not a bad review. We've yet to find a bad sentence about us. So, I mean, we're doing something right, obviously.
Cool. Yeah. That brings us to the final song that is currently released, Sweet Baby Jesus. Now, I don't know if you guys have read your own press kit or maybe you contributed to it at all, but in the press kit, there is a quote about this song. It reads, "We've all seen them, those drop-dead gorgeous beings that make you declare, sweet baby Jesus. This is one of those encounters set to a slinky groove, layered with swampy guitar and slathered in barbecue sauce.
Correct.
Which one of you?
Very
Which
southern
one of you?
expression.
That about wraps it up.
Tom,
That-
was that one you? Was that one you, Tom?
No, but you know, that expression is just very southern.
Mm,
You know, that's where you hear it as a common expression.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
a Gary lyric as well. That's
So that's a Gary. So
Yeah,
I don't
slathered.
know. I don't know if yeah, slathered.
slathered. Yeah, that's slathered, slithered,
Ah.
slathered.
I don't know if you could answer this question then. But I was curious. Was there a particular sweet baby Jesus moment, a memory, a muse that inspired this title?
I'm sure there
Every
was.
day.
Yeah, I'm sure there was.
Every day. Just go-
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean-
mean, yeah, if you're with the right girl, you're gonna be sweet baby Jesus. You know, what I mean, if you married the right girl, it's never perfect. You know, they drive you a little crazy, but sweet baby Jesus, I ain't going nowhere. Because that's really what it's about. You know, it's like, are we gonna pack it up or are we gonna push on through? You know, tell me what we're gonna do. Is that we're at the crossroads? You know, what's
are we
gonna
drinking
happen?
wine or are we
But
killing
you know
each
what?
other?
Shit, sweet baby Jesus, I love you. I ain't going nowhere. You know, what I mean,
That
we've all had them. Trace is right.
that song was really cool because Peter, Gary, and I, before we had the rest of the guys, had got together in Atlanta, and over 2 days, Peter, is that we had 2 days? We
Yeah.
wrote three. I had that music, and Peter had a track, and Gary had a track, and all three of those songs are they're very standout tracks. But it was funny because I remember when we finished writing the music and got it all done, I remember looking at Gary, and he goes, "That song's called Sweet Baby Jesus." And I went, "Oh God, we're in trouble." Because I was just like, I don't know where it's going to end up, but we're in trouble. I had no idea what he was talking about. And when you listen to the lyrics, you go, okay, I told you that I'm bulletproof. Okay, I get it. I get what he's talking about. But like Peter and I were talking, I think we were all joking, like, I wonder how many Christian radio stations have got our song for like a second, listened to it and went, yeah, this is not what we think it is.
That wasn't
Yeah,
what I
no.
was thinking. Yeah.
Right.
How many I mean, you know, how many
To me, the special part of that song for me is this Peter taking everyone to school on the slide.
Yeah, baby.
You know, it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
I remember telling him he's playing slide. Remember that, Peter? I said, you're playing slide in that song. And he goes, really? I go, believe me, I know how you play. You're playing slide on that song. I could hear it. I could hear it before it was even done. I said, he's just going to like take this to a whole nother level. And of course, you did.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, that was fun. That was just simply here in the studio, and you and I were, I was just dubbing it right here, sitting at this desk.
Yeah.
Through the Marshall.
Yeah, we just I wish we'd wrote 6 more songs over those days because all those came out amazing and ridiculous. It was like such when the muse is there and it's like sitting on your shoulder and everything just like I remember telling Tom before and their producer Jack Douglas, I said, hey, when you guys did the Toys in the Attic and the Rocks record, was there any more songs? And I remember Jack saying, no, we were always a song short and had to find one at the end. And I was like, man, because I can't imagine if there was like 3 or 4 more songs from that era, how unbelievable it would be, but
Yeah,
they didn't get them.
those are
Right, Tom?
those are 2 of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Always seems like
mine's
some of the
Rocks.
best songs you hear about are born that way. They were the track that had to be because they were out of everything else and needed another song.
Tom, what's your favorite? Toys in the Attic or Rocks? Which one do you like better?
Oh man. I like the Rock album, but
Nice.
there's a big part of Toys in my heart.
Yep.
It was the first record we ever did where I had my songwriting on it. Sweet Emotion and what's the other one?
Uncle Sol-
Uncle Salty.
Mhm.
Got it.
And that's such a weird song to come out of like an Aerosmith record. It's so cool, but like you hear that one for the first time and you're like, where's this going? Like it's dark, it's like sauntering, it's kind of got that swung feel, and you're like, what is this song? That's such a fantastic one.
Tom has the coolest stuff.
Well, we had a producer who was very open to trying, off the wall ideas. And that's where a lot of our songs, how they were developed,
Hmm.
you
Kind
know.
of like now, kind of like this band. We had actually we're hiring producers to produce our record, and then most of the people that heard our demos thought it was the record. They're like, "I love your record." It's like, well, that's just the demos, and they're all like, "You're crazy if you re-record this because stuff is just perfect."
Cool.
So
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing. We didn't have, we had some. We were all of us as a collective were very open to anything and everything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So and it obviously shows.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Tom, while we're talking Aerosmith, because I couldn't be on a call with you and not ask you about the band. Um, Also, like, yeah, I think Rocks. I struggle to pick between Rocks or Toys in the Attic for a favorite Aerosmith record. I typically lean Rocks. Mostly because of Last Child. Again, just one of those weird sort of standout
Yeah.
songs that's so different from all the other tracks. Um, but regarding the current state of Aerosmith, I know the band has retired from touring. Is there any talks of other things you guys might be doing or any like hopes that maybe there are one-off shows or I know Steven has been doing one-off performances, so is there like plans
Well,
for any one-off shows or recording?
I'm doing the same with Stephen for his James fund,
Mm-hmm.
and he sang 5 songs that night. And then recently, he and a bunch of other people went and did another benefit, and he sang a bunch of songs. And his voice is still getting stronger and stronger. So who knows? I mean, maybe he'll get to the point where, he'll feel like getting up there.
Mm,
But, it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens.
for
But
sure. I mean,
I'm ready
I'll
for
take that
however it goes.
I'll take that little bit of hope right there that
Right.
we can catch
And
you
only
guys
I
again
mean a little
live one
bit.
time. That's great.
And now,
Um, Also, I am curious. The history of Aerosmith has been incredibly well documented through the collaborative autobiography Walk This Way. Steven's written a book, Joey's written a book. Have you ever considered telling your story the way that they have?
I have, and just recently I found a whole bunch of notebooks full
Cool.
of journaling that I did years and years ago, talking about, like for instance, our first South American tour and how what that was like and how everybody in the band responded to it. And um, it really made me start thinking, that I need to just get that routine down, right? I spend, a little time every day writing something down. And yeah, plus my wife is bugging me all the time to do it.
That's really cool. I'd definitely
So,
read that for sure.
Hey,
Me too.
Tom, just so you know, Stephen King, I remember reading about how he writes because he said he just could never force himself to do anything. So he said what he does is he's gonna make himself write an hour a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever it is. So he would lock himself in a closet, just like you're in. He said in the most uncomfortable place ever, and make himself write for 30 minutes before he would leave the closet. So maybe you should find a closet and just force yourself to stay in there for a while. Then you can just write it down and get out of there.
good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd read that
Absolutely.
book for sure.
I bet Jared's got room in his closet. Looks like a closet for two.
Yeah, we could make a shift schedule if you want to come and hang
All
out over
right.
here. Like I could podcast and then, when I take my break, you can come in and journal and we could collaborate together on some things. Maybe you guest host Beats by Jer and I write some journal entries. I don't know. It could be mix it up a bit.
That's
No.
great.
Yeah.
Who
Live
knows?
DJ
Maybe
closet
those
is great.
Converse. Who knows? Maybe those Converse will fit you, Tom. They're your size
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
That's right.
maybe. Size 10 to 11. Like, if you want, we could trade shoes. Like,
Yeah, well, 11. I can bring some of mine.
yeah, sick. Let's do that.
Maybe we could do a show in the closet. We could do a
Yeah. Well,
We
live
could
from
live
Jared's
stream
place.
it. Yeah, yeah. We could
That
live stream
cha-
it from here.
that changes the whole meaning of coming out of the closet, doesn't
It
it?
sure does. Tony, I knew you would
When
go
you-
there. I wasn't gonna, but I knew you were headed that way.
Well, I can't help it. I'm sorry. I'm English.
So bringing it back to Close Enemies, you guys have talked about this full-length album, this album of 10 songs that was recorded in 3 days, which is an astounding feat on its own. Like, that's an incredible pace. When do we think we'll hear this album?
Well, the 3 day thing was when Tony went in and redid the drums.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Songs
Yeah,
were
yeah.
longer.
So the recording of the album was pretty much over what, a year?
Mm,
Yeah, but I would say days wise, I would say 10 days. We were
Yeah.
we were literally like a song a day.
still
Mm.
crazy pace.
It's a very fast pace. And I
Yeah.
tell you,
Yeah.
I remember our manager, Denny, asking us, well, how many songs do you guys think you could come up with? And I'm like, you got 30 days, we got 30 songs. We all have songs sitting there. I mean, when we walk into Peter's basement, it's like, remember Wayne's World on like Saturday Night Live it's like their little basement? That's what Peter's house reminds me of. We're all in like this very comfortable atmosphere, like we grew up in. It just feels like home to all of us.
After school.
Yeah, you got to hurry up because mom's getting home at 5. You got to hurry up.
The Close
get in your
Enemies
plate
after
and
school
get out,
special.
'cause-
It
Yeah, 'cause
happens
mom's
to be
gonna
a
freak
really
out.
good sounding room.
Yeah, and it's just a basement that they've turned into like a nice living area, and it's beautiful. And for whatever reason, it just flows when we're in that room. And it's like,
Yeah.
I told Peter one day they're going to have bus tours that bring people down to the writing world of Close Enemies.
So
We have another 10 songs that we were already working on.
Yeah, we had to stop.
Beyond these 10 or 11, we just had to put it on hold for the moment so we could get all this stuff going and everything else that goes along with putting out an album and getting the touring and the live show together. But I can't wait for us to even get back on songs that are already in progress. So we have no shortage of material coming up after even this record.
To answer your question about when you can hear it, though, I believe this fall we're going to be releasing the collection of all the singles that we released. So we'll do that, and then as Peter said, we're already ready to go with another round.
Well,
so
and everybody,
we're
Tom's got a whole batch of songs. We already had started working on a couple of Tony's songs, and Chasen has got some. I just can't wait to hit back on some of those that we've already started on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that album. I am curious, when I was doing some research, I checked out your website and you were teasing a 2026 Record Store Day release that you have recorded or are planning to record at is it the Whiskey?
That'll be a November show at the Whiskey, correct.
Cool. So that's already like lined up. You are recording that. And
yeah, we have a guy named Harry Witz who's going to do it in Atmos, and he's an Atmos mixer. He just did a live record for Triumph in Atmos, and that's his specialty. And he's a really close friend, and he's like he loves this band so much he wants to do it for us. So we're like, absolutely, have at it.
A live album to follow.
That's as long as the truck is pulled out by then. Did you see?
Right.
I saw
the truck's gone into the side of it.
I saw that.
It was coming down the hill and it lost his brake.
Oh no!
It smashed right into the Whiskey.
Yeah.
When?
Earlier
That was
this
last week.
Yeah. And I think the band that was playing that night, their name has something to do with a car crash. So like the timing of it was like, I can't remember the band's name.
They were probably on the stage going, dude, that could have been better.
I think it was in the middle of the day, but there was like 3 or 4 cars completely smashed, totaled. Like I'm glad somebody didn't die. Hopefully nobody got hurt.
It was a major dump truck full of sand coming down the hill.
Right.
And he lost his brakes.
And
Too much weight.
Now they have to refurbish, which is great.
Oh man.
It needed it.
Oh man, that's too bad. They might actually have to clean the floors now.
Oh, well,
That place, so that's exactly what Chasen did. The whiskey, otherwise known as stick, stick, stick,
sticks.
stick, stick.
Um, so that brings me to my final question, a question that I like to leave with all of my guests. What are your three, and we could go one at a time for this, but what are your three desert island records?
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Wow. One of mine is the Dire Straits album, Brothers in Arms.
Dire
Mm.
Straits, Brothers in Arms, right on, Tom.
That is
Mhm.
a killer album. And then
Mark
there's Led
Knopfler.
Zeppelin 2.
Zeppelin 4 or 2?
No, Zeppelin 2.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And
That's one that I find a lot of people go for a Zeppelin record and they often overlook two. But that's a fantastic one, obviously.
right record.
What else, Tom? What's your third one?
Oh, it would have to be a Beatles album or a Stones album. I don't know, maybe Let It Bleed. Stones
Let It
album,
Bleed? Yeah, that's another
Yeah, that's a
fantastic
good one. Yeah. I thought you were going to say our album, Tom, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. You don't need
Well,
to.
that's automatic. That's like, you know.
Peter, you got it? You got yours?
All right, I'll go next. I'll think of mine. There's so many. So this will be like if I'm grabbing three before a tornado hits.
Yeah, got it. Grab it quick.
I mean, I usually
because there
picture a
could-
desert island, but yeah, in a natural disaster, which three records
or
are you grabbing off
something,
the
just
shelf?
because otherwise I'd want to take a lot more than these three. But three that come to mind would be that I refer back to would be "Get Your Ya-Ya's" by the Rolling Stones.
There you go.
The Who Live at Leeds. I was
Yeah.
way into live albums.
I was just about to
growing
say,
up.
yeah.
And Hendrix acts as bold as love.
Another great trio.
Probably those three. And but there's plenty more. I could think of a dozen more.
Of
At
course.
least a dozen more, right?
Yeah.
Chasen, you got yours?
I'm just gonna go greatest hits albums so I can cover the
Yeah, there
the
you
span of an artist. Al Green's greatest hits, Leonard Skinner's greatest
Mm.
hits, and let's go Sticky Fingers, Rolling Stone.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tony, you got yours?
For me, it's always been one song is Kashmir, obviously, because of the Mr.
Yeah.
John Bonham. But that one seems to cheer me up every time I listen to it. It never gets old. So, and another one, I love Bocelli. I would take
Nice.
any one of his songs, on a desert island, because that man is just amazing. So, and my first song that I learned to play on piano was Elton John's.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Anything else, John?
Yeah. What's it called? Oh, damn it! It's gone out of my head.
Rocket Man? Before
No,
that?
before
Dancer?
that, his first ballad.
Daniel, your song?
Yeah, your song. Thank you.
Yeah.
Damn it. That was the first song I learned to play on piano, and so that it's got melody and it feels good to me, So if I was on a desert island, I want to feel good. So between hearing some classical music to do with John Bonham and maybe and of course I love soul music, so I grew up listening to soul music. So I'd pick any one of those.
Cool. Mine's a little more eclectic, maybe. I would definitely grab the first Cheap Trick record. Love those guys.
Yeah.
And I would also grab, believe it or not, I would grab Cat Stevens' Tea for the Tillerman. I love that record. It's like I grew up, my sister used to play that every day. And so that's always been like, just those songs are just timeless. And actually, believe it, my third one would be one of my favorite records of all time, which is our buddy Butch Walker. Had a record called Left of Self-Centered, which every single song on there is one of my favorite songs ever written. He was just on fire. It's like 2002. And that album, I listen to that probably once a week. So I just put it on and just chill out to it. So that would be my three for sure.
Cool. Like there's a lot of fantastic records on this island.
Yeah, we're rocking.
Hopefully you guys are stuck on the same island then, right?
Right.
Well, hopefully
Nice
somebody
little,
brought a stereo.
yeah, nice
Yeah, I was
little,
gonna say next thing we got to find is a power generator and a
That's
turntable.
right. I was going to say Help by the Beatles. That might be able to get us off the island.
Excellent.
Well,
Oh my God.
Tony, Trace, Peter, Chasen, Tom, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for joining me today for the Spill Magazine and Beats by Jer. It has been a pleasure talking with you all today.
Back at you,
Thank
brother.
Jared. Thank you,
Likewise, Jared.
Good luck with everything in your
Awesome,
band
buddy.
as well, my friend.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Thank you for tuning into my conversation with Close Enemies. Their singles, Sound of a Train, Inside Out, and Sweet Baby Jesus are available across all streaming platforms, with new music dropping in the next few weeks. Be sure to follow them online at Close Enemies Official and on their website, closeenemiestheband.com, to be the first to hear about new music and catch them live. Don't forget to follow me on Spotify, YouTube, and the socials at Beats by Jer. Tune in another 2 weeks for an all-new episode. I'm Jared Harris, and this is Beats by Jer.